We are not live. Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Never know what is that live? A little change here. Let's see here. What do I Check, check, check.
go ahead and take this one?
Yes.
Lavaliers. So we need to get everybody in the panel. Well, we'll get the lavaliers for them when they're ready. Other than that,
How's the view? Do you think you should pull the camera back?
well, no, it focuses on whatever. Yeah.
And then were
That's
you
the best
able
we
to do
got,
anything
man.
with this?
Yeah,
this
yeah.
Dublin?
Yeah. So check.
Oh.
So I'm just using that for this, and then the audio I'm using.
And then where am I moderating from? Which side?
What's that?
Which
So
side?
you're gonna be sitting over there.
Okay. Cool.
And I think that's it. We're
You wanna get-
we're streaming.
Can we get everybody laved?
Yeah, we can get everybody to lav. And then
Yeah. Love it.
yeah, I don't know what else.
Hear you. So lavalier. Of course he is. Or wherever you think it looks good, you can help her out.
The guy's running a little late. Ooh, the photographer's coming at 7. It's okay. It's fine.
On my phone. Can you call my phone?
Photos later.
Yeah, just give me a second. Sorry. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine that he's a little late. Yeah. Yeah. The live stream can hear you now, so be careful.
This is Jeff. My dog who keeps eating my sandwich.
Are these labs good too?
Yeah, they're all connected.
These are live? These are live?
You don't know, you have to turn it on.
Where? Yeah. This is weird. We have labs for the live stream. I don't know if you, labs, the lavaliers. If you, yeah, I don't know if you want. Yeah, this is probably actually good. That's good. Yeah. Is that okay? Is that comfortable? Is that weird?
No.
If you want to take it off and hold it, you can too. Okay. Yeah, like I said, it takes everybody a little bit, and I mean, you know, we get, yeah. And it's like the Knicks are playing, like the city is kind of one-track minded right now, but it's okay.
So many people already showed up, baby. Good
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Yeah. No, actually, I don't. Yeah.
I'm drinking.
Oh, yeah, this is true. Yeah. This is true. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good. I'm glad. I know the other night I felt bad. That was how we had the meeting. I was like I was kind of in an event. Yeah. Here we are, yeah. Believe it or not, that is true.
I don't see it.
I know.
Yeah.
No one does. No one does. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because people sketchy to bring your brother onto your panel.
Yeah. I'd rather people not necessarily. But yeah.
No, I know, but like you give them
I'm
really good. At least when I'm explaining it, I'm
He was just like he's number one. He does not.
It's an important part of being number one.
You're the first
Stay number one. You know, stay number one, and everybody remembers.
Just one panel.
No, so he actually lives here, and I'm in California now. Yeah. From Florida originally. Yeah, we grew up in Florida. So we both flew to
Which matches because we said we were brothers. So.
Yeah.
Not
I'm
like
working on my alibi, yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah, Patrick and I, we did an event last year, our company launch event, and he never left. I came back home. He never left LA. And so then I was doing business every day, like coast, to coast. It's like, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll come to it.
Still pretty good. I wanted to get the power here. I got all of our presentations. Did you go through our slide deck? Yeah, we'll just run it. Yeah, well, because when I was in the car, I was looking at it, and we can just like look at what's on the slide. Yeah. Do you want to champion that?
Yeah, I can do that.
My mind with all this is already.
The whole city.
Yeah, the city itself, right? Yeah. It's kind of always been that way. I mean, I like DC. I lived in Buffalo for a while, and I was in band, so I played around a lot. I've been in a lot of towns, and DC is kind of similar to like a lot of the Rust Belt cities in a way. There's this old money factor, and then there's like kind of this fallout, right? There's like this surrounding area or like pockets where it's just like, what the hell happened here? And it's interesting. I never really, I guess, correlated it with, the fact that they just focused on everything else rather than like their own city. Right? Yeah, it's interesting.
Here you go. Oh wow, that's
it's a construction tech platform. So we do voice to action mostly, but a lot of our stuff are like plugins, the SDK style, things that upgrade existing systems. Yeah. Well, things that like if you're using Autodesk, you can get new integrations, out of our pipeline instead of like whatever crap they.
How does it taste like? I'm curious. Is it good?
Or Procore or Oracle, things like that.
Oh, you both get
Those Autodesk is pretty good. Autodesk is pretty good about like, especially with BA and all that. They keep things up to date. But like, I don't know if you've ever seen someone using any like Oracle products. It looks like DOS. Like it literally looks like DOS. And once you're stuck using those legacy systems, you're stuck. Yeah. So.
It has like sticky factor, if that's like a core part of your business, it's really it's so expensive to change that you're like
the sticky factor comes from the fact that you're running your business, right? So if $300 million change hands in a year, and it's going to cost me $150 million to uproot the system that's in there, even if it's causing probably plenty of problems. It's just not worth it to change, right?
It's going to take forever to do that shit.
It will. It'll kill you. But, I don't know. I'm mostly that tech guy. I'm like the construction expertise guy, and he brings the tech. And so it's kind of an area. Yeah, we're going to do that. I'm ready to get going with some of the intro stuff. I know Max is going to talk for the agenda. I was going to say a little thing for Workspace. You don't feel the need to say, I mean, I know you have a company that you work for. If you don't want to, anything that you have nothing, like footprint you want to leave for anything else? Like, we're all gonna introduce our products essentially.
Perspective on like what it takes to actually empower people. I think that's our fundamental beliefs are. Like
Okay.
this tool should be something that amplifies
If
people,
you
not makes like
had
ostracizes them.
like
And
digital
so that's
asset
why
or
I
anything,
think the bulk of the
I'll
dialogue
give you a couple minutes.
is
To
really
wrap
about
it up. Okay.
I got back every AM.
I really should have said that.
yeah.
It's just a lot for me to juggle. We've got this. Well, I'm excited. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna go try to activate the rest of the crew. We're gonna get started in just a little bit, okay?
We formed it like beginning of the year, and basically it's
So you come here often? I think we're gonna start.
empowering ethical practices with AI. Like how do we
Maybe.
build
No. Let's start with you. And,
AI is an amplifier
did
for
you have to cover this last one?
Did you see it?
Okay, let's talk about that real quick.
No, I just made that up. I made that up.
I don't know. It was something.
yeah, this is basically the market.
Yeah, Manhattan.
We want to get
Yes. Yep. Got it up right here.
In a couple minutes.
Those is- So yeah, I just have. We have this. There's this. So and I think there's like a page up a page down. Well, let's
It's been
Like an
let's try this. I'm sure you know it's about
Run your business off of like
when you showcase yourself, sometimes I have a tendency to not.
as part of the relational
Yeah.
part of it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Oh, yeah.
compliance officers have like mandates, you know, for the funds they
It
make.
might have been
and they have,
Tuesday,
like,
Wednesday, and
legal,
Thursday that we're all just like by the time I got to bed, it's out cold.
We give them a system
But,
that lets them like create all this.
Yeah,
it's been like, oh, you
there's been some good stuff this week, and a lot of stuff that kind of applies to what we're trying to kind of put together and this kind of behavioral aspect.
Really,
And they come to you. Sorry, I have a question. So they come to you at a stage of
Encouraging
the project.
experimentation, taking ownership.
Well,
It's been interesting. I think
we build
with this thing that's here,
that they
we
run
have
their
to talk
business.
about like
So
the
they
emotional side, or like
purchase
the,
our
the human
assets,
capital
purchase
side.
someone else's assets, and then they run their business. So, you know, the
No, but
if you
but
like
the
have a
talk
401k,
ended up there.
Yeah.
maybe you
If
have
that
your
makes
funds
sense,
with
yeah.
someone called
Yeah.
Vanguard or BlackRock.
Yeah.
These are like the canonical, the big dogs in the space.
Cool.
But there's actually like thousands of companies who do this kind of, let's say, like
Yeah,
financial.
awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you came.
Financial operator. They
Yeah,
operate in this
yeah,
kind of
we're
space. They all
we've
need,
got a couple
they
folks
all need
that
this kind of software
say a few things.
to make the money go around.
We'll get rolling, and but then afterwards, we're all gonna mix
Yeah,
it up a little bit.
it's kind of like-
We'll talk some more. I'd love to.
We're famous. We're probably most
Yeah,
famous
thanks.
actually for
Thanks,
something
yeah,
that doesn't
no,
make us
I
any
mean,
money at
the
all.
media front, of course.
That doesn't make any money.
Of course.
Yes.
What we actually do to make money is sell software.
That's amazing. I did not know that at all.
Yeah, most-
So good
Most
to know.
people
Doing
don't,
great,
so
buddy.
don't feel bad. The people who do know are like, oh, you know, the terminal.
Of course. I mean, those are like the
And then what I work on is kind of like a side product to the
Nice.
main software.
That's amazing. Sounds fun. Very cool.
What is it you do? I'm sorry.
So Alex and I are actually co-founders, but my background has been in media and tech. I worked with like Netflix, and that's why I was curious. I was like, oh, Bloomberg. Oh, okay. What did they do? So I worked with like Netflix, Paramount, a lot of like big companies building up like systems and tech, content, and strategy, and all of those things. So it's kind of been
The
like
slide's good
I've
to
been doing it
go.
for like 20 years.
Okay, and needs to
And then-
use this to
Oh,
slide
wait.
through it.
Yeah,
You started when you were like 10.
17.
Okay.
Oh, I'm 38.
goes up and down.
Thank you
So
for
why
that.
don't I
Actually,
get
that
the
is
pre- I'm gonna get the presentation up.
Okay, and you have like a consulting business or?
No, so now we're like,
You look stunning.
obviously, so we are now
Go
doing
ahead.
like
Let me go, let me send them to you.
So we're custom designing. So the first project I was doing
Yeah.
especially is with the Unified this is platform with immersive
Yeah,
music.
whenever it's
You're good with Alex.
So Alex and I
I think he is. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
If you'd like
It's
a
Reba,
drink,
right?
can we grab a drink and I'm gonna be kicking off.
Sorry, my hands are a little
shortly.
greasy.
Yeah, go for it.
You like them?
Oh, they're cool.
No.
Jeff found it.
They recreated on the 1 million. Yeah. And I think they tried to keep it the same. Actually, like I think they recreated them a couple times. Because when I first moved years ago, I went like when I got my first like, very early. I was very young. I was like, I went to the store and I saw them at the store, and I'm like, because growing up, we were like rich enough to have them. Always wanted them. I saw them in the store. I'm like, I can afford them finally.
How you guys doing? Thanks for coming out. And we're going to get some words in from our sponsors before we kick off. Some time. Totally. And don't worry, we're going to mix it up after too. So up next we got, or starting us off, we've got Max Fuka here to tell us a little bit about the Agentic.
Thank you for the hi, everybody.
Can you help me with the strawberries? It's okay, it's fine. Yeah, of course. I didn't work. It's fine. You know me, I just give everybody.
What we do and why we do it as well. So, yeah, well, what is the Agentic? First, I'll give a little background about myself. I'm a Bay Area born and raised. Son to two entrepreneurs, so I've been pretty involved in that life. I have a background in machine learning and data engineering at UC Berkeley. Previously, I worked in venture capital doing technology research. I definitely enjoyed that, but right into the gas in the Agentic, actually found out opportunity to work with a lot of early stage individuals and helping these companies off the ground. And so I've been doing that for the past 8 months. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about what we do. We're essentially kind of like an applied AI company. Essentially, we build our own R&D components, and then we spend the other half of our time actually building with clients and partners to help get AI products off the ground. A lot of that is getting resources to actually build can be pretty difficult nowadays, especially if you're obviously getting traction. Oftentimes, you try to raise money, people say, "Oh, we love traction. We love why you pay engineers, right?" So we try to solve some of the problems with some of the incubator programs, which I do a lot of the technical due diligence and those as well. So a little bit into kind of what we do as a technology organization. We build pretty much the entire tech stack for products, and the way that we do that is we try to make sure that the model fits the flow to the particular use case. A lot of the flagship models are fantastic. I'm not going to start here and try to pretend that they're not over. But they are expensive. You pay a premium for what you do, and they're not very defensible in the sense that you can kind of merge together a few things with the model. It's not necessarily an edge. It's not somebody else is doing the same thing. And so a lot of what we do is we build custom systems to either be better performing or cheaper, oftentimes both. We'll actually make the organization ready to have this data utilized. AI operations and so we essentially have that in terms of like the tech stuff. We do our engineering network, we have the R&D components in terms of our frameworks and tooling, and we also have the using engine as well.
Oh, this public is
also
over here. 1 second.
There we go. So quickly on using engine, we will come in and landscape those to use predictable problems to dimensions. I don't have too much time to go into it, but it's a really cool tool. We've been able to beat state of the art on many benchmarks really small models because they're extremely well rounded in terms of like what's not just the correct outcome, but also like, what's the right way to think about solving a difficult real problem. And a lot of the problems we tackle are ones that you can't do in reinforcement learning. So examples that you can is like a lot of the coding mathematics, software, really easy to train those at scale. You're going into like compliance, or legal, finance risk flows. A lot of those are a lot more messy. So we work with enterprise clients who are custom deals, but we also run our incubator programs, and I want to briefly tie into that role. A lot of it's the kind of change that we're seeing funding. Things are moving very fast nowadays. We want to have to hear about that. This kind of slide is tying in that we're seeing that chicken and egg problem with traction and building, where if you can get to the other side of it, you can actually command pretty good term sheets, and most of the capital's heading that way. But getting over the hump, whether you're the technical co-founder, or you're just domain expert, that's a great idea, can be very tricky. So that's kind of like the traction side of things. This is also traction in the sense that the AI churn nowadays is really bad, And you kind of look at why. I think the initial reports are a little overblown because they report the first companies that were invested in. It's just like, you use anything for AI. And I think nowadays investors are a lot more realistic in terms of like, we don't necessarily care that you use AI, we just do you have a certain outcome that that's the example is it'd be ridiculous if you didn't remember something. We're a database company. You know, we're doing databases. It's like, of course you do. You kind of have to do the stuff that you're dealing with at scale. But we've been able to do a lot of code customization with some of these strong cards because a lot of people don't want to learn a new flow. And I think that it's very much a buyer's market nowadays. You know, if you're just kind of putting out products and, oh, it's the best, go try it, set it up for yourself. Most people realistically aren't going to do that. So I want to talk a little bit about the programs. One that we do, this one we've been running for 16 months. We've actually worked with over 100 companies. 50 of those have turned into live products, and 10 of those have actually crossed $1 million in ARR in the span of less than a year. We've actually worked with Jeffrey and Patrick over here in this program, helping them do a lot of the technical AI stuff around it. Essentially, the way we do it is we try to make it risk deferred, where essentially we have a small commercial deposit to make sure that everybody's serious and building up, but you don't actually pay for the majority of the low costs unless you reach commercial viability. And we've actually found that a lot of the investors prefer this as well, because rather than pay their money in and going, well, we hope to start to do a quality build, they work with kind of an organization that has experience getting these things off the ground, and they're actually putting the money in after they have the proof that it's going to work. And so we've been running that, and then we've created another program. This is just kind of super cool. The flow is like that we're calling Prometheus. And the idea behind Prometheus is we want to make it more accessible and double down on what the best. The great thing with Patrick and Jeffrey is that they have a lot of experience within the construction space, right? And so from our end, when you think about getting companies off the ground, we have two main hurdles. One, which is friction, and the second, which is trust. Friction is essentially we need you to understand the workflow at hand to identify the opportunity to innovate, right? And to actually guide us in our direction. Because we can build a lot of things, but we don't know the industries that you guys do. And so to kind of align that with that, we need to customize for a specific firm, a specific way of doing things. And the next is trust. And by having those connections in the industry and we work there, kind of working with those initial pilot customers to get high quality case studies in which we can actually help to distribute at a larger scale. And those are the two biggest problems. The biggest problem isn't necessarily the building itself anymore. We found out a way to do that very efficiently. And so Prometheus is more targeted at domain experts, and this is more of like working under the umbrella of the agentic co-launch products. A lot of this is many of the domain experts that we wanted to work with. They have full-time jobs for this comfortable with their jobs, they're consulting gigs, some of them need visa situations or late stage in their career and they just want to spend more time with family. But they recognize that there's a big wave going on with their own domain expertise. It's a great fish we can monetize. And so it's, we take a little bit more of an active role in engagement, but we want to make it accessible. So yeah, a lot of it is we're able of the build, the go-to-market, security ops, and you essentially come on as an advisor, steering the direction of the product and bring conversation with design partners. I'm going to go through these super quick, but yeah, we primarily want to do business to business or your contract size because we're going to put authority with engineers and sales development reps. It's easy for our strategies. It's difficult for us to depend on being able to influence that. We also have we're essentially doing a revenue share in deals, and then we have some exit opportunities as well. A lot of people don't think about that, but it's definitely something worthwhile thinking. If you have a certain plan that you want to be somewhere in a certain amount of years, you don't want to have to be 4 or 5 years in and think, I didn't think how to get out of this amount. So I have one more thing. I'm going to jump over this super quickly. But this is actually a way to support targeted angel investors because for some companies learn a lot about the market, but the product are not necessarily on the runway path. So usually your angel investors get die, or if your organization is already very much the runway, not realizing that just having to hire people which is essentially the thing is how you learn how to build AI agents. That company is actually better positioned to do well, but the problem is they're not going to do well with the traditional investment scene because they're probably not going to raise the next round, and it's going to be tricky to raise the first round. So we kind of recommend to see if we can actually get a little bit more momentum and build up from there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If any of the stuff that I mentioned seems relevant, I have some QR codes out here for the two programs. I will say for Prometheus, we recognize that running to specialized domain experts is pretty difficult. And so we have a pretty sweet referral program where we give $3,000 and some percentage of more usage. I think it's around 50% for 3 years. just to make it worthwhile. If you know a lot of individuals, we have things in the content aggregators, we also pack up the board towards the companies that you bring in. And long term, you want to do role plays. We're actually a lot of games that we follow suit with the way that .com did, which is surrounding companies that specialize in specific verticals, getting the role and aggregated into larger opportunities. Yeah, hopefully, stuff is useful. You learn anything. If you have any further questions, I'll be around. So hopefully, listen to your questions. Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks, man. Max, everybody, thank you. Well, as I said before, I'm Jeff Martinez. Patrick and I are going to take a second to talk to you about what we do, but not so particularly about what we do. We really wanted to kind of touch on that gently. We run Workspace. We're a construction management platform where we mostly use voice to action processes. And I'm not really here to talk to you about that, though, right? I would really much rather talk to you about, what's going on right now and kind of set the tone for what we're going to talk about after this on our panel. Just kind of a general philosophy and the responsibility we have as leaders, right? Because it's coming up that we're really going to be thinking about the people, right? The human capital that's out there as we're trying to build things and move forward and garner the success we want, but in the most responsible way possible, right? And the stakes are really high right now. I mean, you hear the conversations that are constantly going on, and we want to be able to address a lot of that uncomfortable truth and talk about it openly, because the dialogue is really where people get the opportunity to feel that they have a voice, right? I think that's where it starts, where you kindle that. And I think through that,
just like sitting this out isn't really, a position, because the rules are being written right now. So it's like absence is a choice too. I put this slideshow together in the Uber here because we have a lot of production stuff going on. So let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
Thanks for the honesty. Yeah, that's what it's about.
We're producing so many things all at once, and that's kind of the advantages that come with AI and these new tools, that you can do a lot. We have a new dialectic in culture now, where we have reality and then artificial reality. And a lot of times people think that it's one or the other, but ultimately what's going to happen is that through the relationship together of artificial reality, being able to create an imagination of the future in such a high fidelity that it starts to influence reality itself, which then creates more artificial reality, and then they begin to synthesize. So this isn't really a question of robots or man or reality or AI. It's how do we bring the two together, and grow from that. And so we have an approach. It's the first element of that approach is open-mindedness, and it's being able to take time to understand what's happening with AI and the tools, and to approach it with an open-mindedness, really. Not being too set on how you want things to be used, and letting the customers and people almost decide how these new tools get created, and how the value of these tools are distributed. Jeff, you want to take over?
Yeah. So as Patrick was talking about those kind of three pillars, right? The openness, the cohesion,
right? And collaboration. And those are like what really are the foundational elements of how at least we've gotten anything done. You know, it's we get together, we choose to do it together, and then we bring somebody else in, and we bring a team in or a committee in, and we talk about it, and we hold discourse, and we figure out how to get it done, right? And with this new space Patrick is kind of referring to, that's what it's calling us to do. We're going to have to like hold this conference together, like in larger numbers. We're going to have to talk more. We're going to have more dialogue. We're going to have to encourage your friends to rent a room and talk to everybody, right? And like this is how this is going to get done, as far as I'm concerned, right? But this is much more of what we wanted to discuss than however it is we think we're going to make money. So yeah, it's that action-driven energy. Right? It is time to do something about where you think you want the future to be. There is an open-endedness to how everything is going at the moment, and it is a time to really activate voices. It's a time to have dialogue. I think I'm beating a dead horse here, but you get what I'm saying, and that's why we brought you guys here. So I'm really excited to hear from what everybody has to say today, and kind of take whatever questions you guys have as we roll through this. So I'm excited. I'm going to let Patrick close us off here with our presentation.
Well, I guess, yeah, we have a couple more slides here from discovering. And, we kind of one of the main question of this event is, what is the future that's being presented to us as what we think we don't have control over, and it's this narrative that AI is going to be this, or it's going to be that, it's going to be used for these type of things. And the reality of the situation is that we hold the pen right now, and we can shape the future. And through this open-mindedness and this cohesion and taking action, it's going to be a challenge, but that's what we love. We love solving problems. Let's see. And that's it. Yeah. We're a good company.
We did it. Yeah.
We're a good company, guys.
Again, thank you all for coming in. Up next, we're going to have Starseed.
I promise we'll do this in less than 5 minutes. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. I know there's a plethora of Tech Week events you can choose on your Friday night, but thank you so much for choosing to spend it with us. We have like a wonderful, intimate gathering here. I love it. We can have really powerful conversation and +1 on this dialectical reality of these two worlds blending. What Starseeds does is what we're really passionate about is like, how do we bridge people with technology, and how do we create solutions that use technology to bring people closer together versus further apart. That's a big thing that we look at. Like I've been a marketer for over 10 years in the tech space. Rima's been an executive producer and technologist for the last 20 plus years. She's just a rock star. Right now we're building immersive applications that are garnered towards creating behavioral change. And you're like, what does that mean? So there's applications that integrate gaming, augmented reality or virtual reality. And like what we're really trying to do that's different. And like it's kind of the first of its kind experimentation, but like we've been partnering with neuroscientists, and we're baking in these like bespoke metrics into these applications. So how do we measure? How do you know if an HR training is going well? If you're a facilitator or a subject matter expert and you're doing something, how do you know your audience is truly engaged? And how can we gather that? How can we create behavioral change through experiences versus talking at you? And like what we're doing is we're measuring attention span, we're measuring psychological safety, neuroplasticity. These are all things that we're baking into our experiences, not just doing gimmicky games or, Pokemon Go, but we're trying to say like, how can we actually create an impact with this audience, with the user who's going through this experience from beginning to end. So instead of talking to you, let's show you. So Rima, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thank you. I see a lot of you already scanning the QR code. So hold on for a second, okay? Don't press start. I see a few of you doing that already. Okay, so just a little bit of background. When I was, working on this game, I was looking at a lot of research material. And interestingly enough, I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with the transformers architecture that basically is used in all LLMs. Oh, there, Max, I see him raising his hand. So if you haven't, read this paper, I would highly recommend go read it. It's basically called Attention is All You Need. A bunch of researchers in Google in 2017 basically started trying to understand how machines actually talk to each other. How are these LLMs predicting the next text? Right? So the main thing that they discovered was that attention is the key thing that one needs to actually create the best LLM. So all of the LLMs that you are using right now is using the transformers architecture. It's crazy that we're in a time as humans where, I don't know how many of you have a good attention span. Raise your hands. Do you feel you're distracted with your Slack and emails and all of that constantly? Okay, I see nods. Okay, so that's basically what we're going to test today. Is we're going to have some fun. If you have your phones, scan that QR code, and let's find out what your attention span is. And you can put the music on, like it'll be
Sound on.
Put your sound on. Let me move on this side.
You just have to follow the ball.
Yeah, just follow the ball.
Follow the ball. That's all you have to do. Try your best.
Track it with your hand. Track it with your hand. Track it with your hand. Just,
With your
yes,
finger.
with your finger. With your finger. Sorry.
Somebody's getting it.
No, you gotta track it. Yes, you have to track it with your finger. You gotta track it with your finger. Start over. Start over. Go for it. You didn't get it.
It's we probably didn't pass the color.
I think that's.
No, just try to scan the QR code. It's not working. Here, I got you, girl. Here, I'll send it to you right now. You scan it on my phone. There you go.
Okay.
We need you to experience it.
Tell me. I mean, of course, a higher score, right? So what it's actually going to give you is how long you were able to focus on that ball and were you distracted with all of the things that were coming in? You were smiling, so tell me. Yes, share what you felt. What is it? What's your score? Oh, that's good. 41 is good.
41 is great.
41 is
That
actually
is
really
actually
good.
really
I
good.
did this at another conference and the highest score was 40. So you got good. You beat her. Is there anyone else? 38 is good too.
It was
Say
a
that again.
women's conference.
It was a women's conference.
It was a women's conference. 39?
Ooh, 43.
Oh, we got high scores.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay. The average human being,
Say that
okay?
Yes.
He's like, I got that
Yes,
fast
of course.
twitch muscle.
So, although I didn't start knowing Astros because my finger,
Yeah. It does track eyeball too.
What is the purpose of having the notifications actually interfere with our ability to see the ball as opposed to having them kind of be consistent at the top of the ball?
That's a great question. So every day in our life when we're, going through all of the, like, just imagine a regular day. Like, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I came into New York and I was like, holy shit, the sensory overload of my existence felt like the 24 hours was 72 hours. I did so many things, right? Every day when we move along our life, we're like constantly on messages, we're getting Slack distractions. So the real time that you actually focus for is so much more lesser than you imagine, right? So it's kind of bringing in a simulation of that environment where you're constantly bombarded with all possible notifications from probably a boss who you don't want to talk to, and it's kind of simulating that environment of how can you still keep your focus in place while doing that.
I imagine that would be the case though if the notifications had consistent position in the viewfinder. So I'm curious about why have the notifications overlap with the ball.
Yeah.
As opposed to simply, like most of us, if we do have notifications, we visually know where they'll be.
Right.
They'll be on our computer in a certain place.
Right.
They'll be in a notification bar on our phone.
Right.
So I feel like it kind of is counter reality to have them literally overlap with the ball, right?
Yes and no. I would say yes and no. It's a perspective. It's a creative perspective. So I agree with your point, but I also feel like somewhere it kind of makes it more dramatic. So that would be my response. But great question. Thank you for that. Anyone else? How much did you guys score? 43 was the highest, I guess, right? How much did you get? 47? Oh my
Nice
God, that's
score.
awesome, girl. That's awesome. Okay, awesome. Okay, so thank you so much. I think this has been a really fun activity that we wanted to do and just, get the ball rolling. Jeff, do you want to take over for the next slides?
Do some music, buddy. Yeah, guys, just gonna take 1 second to get ourselves together. We're gonna kind of move into our panel discussion, right? It's what we all came for, and we've got some really great some minds here from different plugged in from different portions of the industry, and we're gonna just kind of chat about what we addressed at the beginning, right? Was how do we kind of get towards that future that we want, rather than just kind of sitting back and letting it happen. So yeah, we've got Alexander Stone, Flagicon. We've got myself, Jeff Martinez, with Workspace. Rima Bagchandani, Star Seed Studios. Sorbel Felice, with Personal Algorithms. Matthew Martinez, with who shall not be named. But he's a fintech expert, so he's going to come on down here as well. And Patrick Nyler, with Workspace as well. 1 second, guys.
Hi, Chad.
Yeah,
we're
I don't bite.
live streaming this right now.
Much.
So
It's like in my eye.
I'm trying to see how that's going.
Top secret.
Hey, Patrick.
What's that?
It's like straight in.
Yeah, we're gonna turn this off.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna turn this off.
They see us in 3 dimensions. I don't think they need to see us in 2 dimensions. This is your chance to hydrate or dehydrate. I'm also the panel comedian. They paid me extra for that.
That is true.
We're all here. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Everybody's got their labs on.
We got the labs on.
Yeah, I told them to
that's for the
hydrate, so
live
they're
stream,
hydrating now.
So we might have to pass the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Fair enough. Let me just pull them on.
Shorter?
Michelle.
Keep it shorter.
Yeah.
Keep it one
So
question
the
each,
live
that's
stream
it.
can hear me right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just keep one question
that?
each.
The live stream can hear me right now?
yeah, you can talk to Chad if you want to.
Okay.
Text.
I don't really want to like.
He's doing
I
the
don't really want to like
He's doing the
distract him so much.
There's a mute button. Double click.
Where is he? Oh. So.
Who's writing the I can send it to you.
Yeah, fix it.
Well, yes. Now that I have my questions handy, we can get started. Yeah. So tonight really isn't about whether like AI is good or bad. You know, it's more about like who has agency, right? And where are we losing that agency? Where are we gaining that agency? How do we maintain it, right? Where is this adoption process failing, and where's it succeeding, and who's owning those outcomes? And, you know, we want to see that people are prioritized through that, you know, through kind of a cultural approach. Do me a favor, guys. Raise your hand if you think AI will increase headcount pressure in the industry that you're in.
Nobody?
Nobody?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Less or more.
Either way, right? Like, is that discussion going to be had? Is that there's going to be less of us, there's going to be more of us? I mean,
I lost my job last Friday.
There you go, right? I'm sure there's some shy folks in here too, right? It's most of us. And so, you know, I wanted to kind of ask this across the panel. You guys are take your turns answering, but if AI is primarily, or is AI primarily a productivity tool that reduces headcount, or a capability tool that raises the bar for everyone? You know, what should people assume is coming? Anyone want to take that?
Oh, okay. Thank you. I think AI is more than a productivity tool. And I think it's like yes to both of those questions. I consult a lot in enterprise transformation and AI adoption. And, you know, one of the things that we're seeing is it cannot just be a productivity tool when you're talking to everybody, right? It's a new way of working. And it is a new system of experimentation. What AI is asking a lot of people to do is go beyond themselves and try new things. So we have to, the benefits to AI are both economic and non-economic. So it can be, you know, the classic time saved, increased revenue, but it's like, do you like doing your job more because you don't have to do boring, repetitive tasks? That's actually another like valid portion of the implementation of AI. How do we increase like work quality and improve workflows so we can get back to doing the things that we actually love, which is like being subject matter experts at the end of the day versus doing, you know, paperwork oftentimes. Does anybody else have an opinion on
Anyone
this?
wants a piece of that? A piece of that question?
Yeah, so I think that whether or not it's looked at as a productivity tool is whether or not, or how you're looking at it. Are you looking at it as something that's going to essentially be able to extract more productivity out of it? Or are you looking at it as a way to grow people and help grow their skills and make them feel more empowered to build whatever future they are imagining. And so I think that there is, we're in a time right now where we can kind of steer that in a certain direction. I think ultimately it's going to be viewed as a productivity tool as far as the economy is concerned. But from a personal standpoint, I think it's very powerful, and it is going to be a paradigm shift. But it's to be determined if it's going to be similar to the last tech, the invention of the internet, and then the invention of computers. There's a lot of hype around that too, but it's certainly powerful stuff that we're dealing with right now, and I think it shouldn't be taken lightly, and it needs to be focused on. Anybody else?
I'll say something.
Okay.
So I think that it's definitely a bigger and more let's say, I don't even know what to call it, right? But let's say AI tooling is definitely a bigger and more interesting technological innovation than many of the innovations that have come before. But I think if you look at the whole history of humankind, you see like a pattern of like very large, let's call them technical innovations. And in between those, you see much smaller technical innovations. And I think I can't say for sure because I haven't done the research, but conceptually in my mind, at every point where we've had a technological innovation, it has in some cases made some jobs obsolete because they were automatable, right? Someone was doing something before that now a machine can do. We don't have that many blacksmiths around because somebody invented a metal stamping machine. But what it did allow us to do, and I think this is like something that's like deeply embedded in human nature, over time, it actually allowed that technological innovation didn't destroy like the nature of work. It actually allowed it so that humans could create more complexity. And then that complexity actually required even more work than possibly was maybe if you totaled up the total amount of work, you actually created work over time. And I think that I really believe that like AI is another one of those moments where maybe we'll have a shock of a lot of people who are doing jobs right now that can be automated. But eventually we'll be in a position, I'm sure, where we found a way to actually make things even more complex than they are now. And we still are required as humans to be involved because of the level of complexity that we created.
Interesting.
Just want to add that it depends on how you define productivity, right?
Sure.
Because yes, it can make you more productive that you don't have to do a PowerPoint anymore. You don't have to build your own spreadsheets. But the way that companies are approaching this is by cutting a lot of support employees that could do a lot of the grunt work for you, and now you have to do your own grunt work. So now you can be your own accountant, and now you can be your own designer, and now you can be your own, secretary or executive assistant. So it does increase your productivity, but then it also takes away from your productivity because you are doing all those other things. And remember that as humans, we lose focus, right? We lose focus when we have to context switch all the time. So now you have to do your own taxes and your own everything. Productivity decreases because you're not focused. So it's important to define productivity when it comes to AI.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. Oh, we're off to the races. This thing's fun, huh?
It's great.
Top down is a phrase that we hear a lot. What do you think needs to shift in leadership to have the biggest impact in ethical adoption? Anybody wants a piece of this?
I'll take this.
We can talk next. Give an intro.
Intro.
I think we all need our intros.
Yeah, like who are these people talking to us anyway? So my name's Alex. I'm the CEO of Starseed Studios. I'm also the principal of enterprise transformation and AI adoption for Logicon. Everything is really geared on like how do we use technology and build systems to create behavioral change. But answering your question regarding what's the top-down approach, I think everything has to be driven by leadership. AI is implementing a new CRM tool. It's not asking people to use a new project management tool and like go through the motions and get their onboarding and that's it. AI is a cultural change. And the thing is like, if leadership is not aligned with it, especially if you work at a big company, if you work at how many of you are in startups or lean companies? Raise your hands. Okay. How many of you are in like 5,000 plus companies? Okay. How many are somewhere in the middle? Okay, cool. The bigger the company, the more important it is that like there is a clear narrative coming from leadership regarding AI, because it is not just a tool rollout, it requires a lot of empathy. Because with AI, you're asking people, like, we want you to build new systems and tools and ways of working and ways of thinking, right? There's a lot of failure related to that. So they need to understand that, are you psychologically safe? Are you safe to experiment and fail? And there has to be a clear narrative from leadership saying that, like, failure is okay. Like, we're flexing this muscle together. And quite frankly, the more transparent and authentic leadership is about this transformation, that, like, hey, we're going through this too. Like, we're trying to make our own agents and automate our own systems, right? But, like, we're all trying to work towards the common, towards this new way of working, towards creating these cultural shifts, especially when you're not working in like fast-paced SaaS startups, if you're working in oil and gas, if you're working in finance, if you're working in kind of these like traditional industries like aerospace, right? Like, we have to have a clear narrative to make sure that everybody's allowed and that everyone's kind of having the same narrative, so we can experiment safely and at scale, because we're now asking people to build a plane while they're flying it.
Wow, that's a really good segue. Okay, so hi, I'm Rima. I'm the co-founder of Starseed Studios. My background has been in media and tech for like the last 20 years. I worked with Netflix, Paramount, Endemol Shine, so a lot of big companies. Basically, my take on overall, like where we are in terms of AI, for me, the biggest thing is that we are, as humans, for the first time in the driver's seat. We decide how we use these tools to do what we want it to do. And I think it's the first time that we're reflecting on our consciousness to be more aware of what we're actually feeding this machine. And I think that is the biggest change, because for the first time, leaders are like, oh my God, how do we deal with all of this governance? How do we deal with all of these changes happening in a company, right? It's because we are questioning ourselves in terms of how are we supposed to actually behave in these situations. And I think that is the biggest change for me when it comes to like how leaders should be, kind of bringing in these changes, because there are so many new tools that are being dropped every single day. I feel like as humans, we have, a certain kind of equation with each of these apps. Like we build, I almost like to feel like it's almost like a relationship that you build with these AI tools, right? Whether it's a chat or a Claude, I feel like all of these apps know me in a different way. What we do with these tools is kind of like bringing out that relationship and making sure that we're able to create an environment where we can grow together versus, taking it as a threat and, letting it not kind of be in our journey to grow further in this space.
Pass on this one. Anybody?
Am I introducing myself or answering the question?
I didn't know. I'm Patrick Nyler. I'm a co-founder of Workspace AI. I've worked in enterprise software for the last 15, 20 years, ultimately serving the position of the bridge between the product's design and the development. So I've spoken to customers and built very complex enterprise systems and user interfaces, and I know how much people hate it because it's complicated and it's hard to use and it's really hard to design for, because it's usually not somebody's job when you're working in construction. And that's been our focus, working in construction. Nobody wants to use these systems. AI can help with that. It's not necessarily replacing the construction worker or the back office, but it can fill out the forms for you really well. And so we kind of take a simple approach, but we know where AI is powerful and where it's lacking, and so that's my story. But I'm going to pass on the question.
I think this is kind of cool that we like answered a question first and then we're introducing ourselves. That's like
I do
cool.
too.
That's
I
a cool way
agree.
to do it. I feel like I feel like George Clooney would do it.
Yeah, me too. I feel like it was a good move. Yeah.
I'm Matt Martinez. I'm an engineering manager at a large fintech company. And I've been doing software engineering for almost 20 years, leading software teams for better part of that. So I bring that maybe like hands-on kind of experience. I'm definitely living a lot of these questions at my job right now.
Hi, I'm Sorabel. I am the founder and CEO of Personal Algorithms and AI Governance Consultancy. To answer your question, it is top down. Things are happening top down right now. I see it in, the clients I consult with, and it's top down, but there's also a lot of interest at the employee level. They know what's happening. They're reading the headlines. They are being told that they're going to be left behind. So even though it's top down, they are also doing it on their own. They're using AI to make their lives easier, to be more productive. They may be using it in, their own personal lives. So it's top down, but it's also bottom up.
It's a communal mic.
Yeah. Well, this one's gonna be fun. We're gonna go one at a time here, guys. I know, right now we find ourselves like kind of caught between like move fast in a hard place, right? And that really need to kind of address the cultural aspect here and talk a little bit more about accountability, right? So, are you guys raise your hand if you guys are in an organization that has AI policy that's active. Okay, cool. Sure.
Probably.
Sorabel, this one's for you. To pass the mic all the way back down there again. But what kind of policy or guardrails have we seen being effective, and how are they best implemented?
Yeah, so what I'm seeing right now is, and I'm seeing it like right now, is again, top-down mandates of we're using AI, here's our policy, here is how we're gonna use it, here's what it means for you. In terms of governance and accountability, that unfortunately comes later. That comes when something breaks or when there's some kind of trouble, and then people want to talk about governance. There is some, like surface level, make sure you scrub that, or make sure you erase PII. But as privacy professionals, like my friend Simon here, we know that just, scrubbing something from a PDF is not enough. There has to be more systematic ways of making sure that governance is implemented. Ideally, when a CEO is passing down a mandate for adoption, they would insert governance at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They would be honest about the limitations, about the tension between adoption and governance. They would, push back on themselves, right? But it unfortunately doesn't happen. And governance comes later. It comes bolted in later. It comes after you give people access, after you give people this powerful tools that do make your life easier, that make you more productive. And it's really hard to come back and say, oh, actually, no, you have to do it this way. You have to do this, and you have to hedge, and you can't get all of that because people get comfortable, and you told them to use it. And so it's just, it's very hard to adopt AI and then retrofit governance into it.
Ooh. Can I piggyback off of that for a second? I think what you're saying is really important, because I think we need to normalize having this governance conversation head first, because we've all heard this term garbage in, garbage out. But when you unleash Pandora's box, and if you're working with a co-pilot, an integrated AI system, if you're working at an enterprise company and it's connected to every single Word doc, every single Teams conversation, every single database, all of these systems, when you start having people start building things with these, and you don't even start before you have this fast twitch muscle to say let's all do this AI innovation, but no one ever questions wait, what about the data? what data are you using? Is the data clean? Like how many sources of data? And like I think it's really important like to normalize having this governance conversation. And no matter who you are, like it's like no one wants to be the person to say like, hey, what are we even feeding this thing? But we should ask that question, because like once we start scaling these monsters, because they will be monsters, it'll be a lot more expensive, costly, and it'll take a lot of time to undo what has been done with maybe incorrect data or ungoverned data. So I just wanted to piggyback off of what you said. Sorry about right there.
May I add something to yours?
Absolutely. Do you need this?
I'm data engineer at Adobe. No,
Here.
that's okay.
Let's go. It's a community thing. There you go.
I work in governance as a data engineer.
It's all good. All good.
We build governance in.
Yeah.
For a data profile. So I not only work in data and AI/gov, but I'm an engineer, so we come at it from that perspective. I'm also very familiar with the legal side of things. So we're taking policies and we actually automate the policies and we put them into our infrastructure such that all data sets have to comply with policies. So for example, you've got to handle data in a certain way, as you're saying. Well, when you look at what data is classified as, you stamp that label to that data, you put in a bucket of restricted, confidential, public, internal, and then accordingly you allow Adobeers to use it for whatever purpose of injuring you. Now, what have you done? You vetted governance from the get-go before that data is released, before it goes into any AI tool, and legal is checking off along the custom governance. You have to engineer governance from not only shifting up and shifting down.
But how long did that take you?
A year.
A year.
But that's such a good system.
You're doing it right.
That's a really smart system, because when you bucket it, you've automatically cleared out so many user errors.
I mean,
That's amazing.
The entire public cloud, there's over 2 exabytes of data that we classified, labeled, cataloged, and have available for usage for AI training.
Wow.
And
That's
now
awesome.
I am in a lot of the private spaces. I'm in MongoDB, I'm in Databricks, and I'm doing all of that again with my team. So,
Wow.
yeah, again, it's just
Fantastic.
like she says, get the mandate from the leaders, boom, it happens.
Wow.
I'm very proud to see those.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a really big piece.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing that. It's
Oh,
not
that's so
all horror, okay, people?
It is. It
Hang
is.
on. Let me try not to destroy everything. It's my specialty.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the participation. This next one's from Matthew. Have you ever experienced leadership insisting on AI tools that may have been counterproductive or caused issues? And how did you best represent your team in that moment?
I don't think I have experience with necessarily leadership pushing something that was counterproductive. I think that like a more common experience that I have, and maybe you all have experienced this also, is something like sort of unrealistic expectations of what they're pushing. And I think that the question is still valid though. Like, what if you're in the middle management kind of space, like maybe I am? You have to like represent your team. You have to sort of protect them in some ways, but you also have a responsibility to think about what's best for the organization and try to get the most out of your team. So it's a two-way street, right? So it's not really about, let me tell you, boss, why this is stupid. It's a little bit about like, okay, let's try it. And I think Alex was mentioning earlier with respect to one of the other questions, like there has to be like kind of an honesty amongst everybody who's involved that okay, there's a trust level. I have trust with my managers, my team has trust with me, I have trust with my team, and that trust is like something which is built over time. It's built up over time by the actions that leaders take and the things that they say, matching or not matching the things that they do. It's built up over time by showing a willingness to like dive into the details and really listen and really understand what your team is trying to tell you. And you either have leaders who do this or you don't have leaders who do this. And I think if you don't have leaders who do this, then it's going to be very hard. That situation that I'm describing is going to be very difficult, because almost no matter what you say, they won't want to listen to you. No matter what you say to your team, they won't want to listen to you. So this isn't really an answer to the question, but it's kind of like maybe more about just how to be a good leader. You really have to do the hard work. You can't just come into a room and say, I want X, Y, Z, make it happen, and then come back like 3-6 months later or whatever. You have to be willing to like dive into the details. You have to be willing to listen. You have to be able to show your team that you care what they have to say. And then when you're asking for something that doesn't make any sense and they say, doesn't make any sense, boss, you have to have enough like I don't know what to call it, reflection to say, oh, maybe it doesn't make sense. Tell me why. So not exactly an answer, but maybe some encouragement for people who find themselves in that situation. You can build it, but you better start. If you don't have it already, like it needs to be started now, because it takes a while to build up.
Awesome.
Who's that?
All right, this next question is for Patrick. Can't you imagine, buddy? It's Monday morning. Your AI confidently recommends a decision and it's wrong. What do we do in workflows to catch that? And who's ultimately responsible for stopping those gaps?
Yeah, I think that really depends on the infrastructure that's built around it. If you have employees or team members just kind of using AI tools as they see fit, and it's not a consistent, cohesive effort relative to whatever system is expecting something right or wrong. If they get something wrong, obviously there was an expectation for it to be done correctly. And that's why the human in the loop is such an important aspect of building the infrastructure and the technology around it. And now, we have the possibility of essentially the system building itself, but the system can only build itself if it's recommended what needs to happen. So, if something's happening that's not, or if you're getting it wrong and it's not because of you, it's because the system could be designed better, make a suggestion. Oh, I want it to do it this way. And, it can, with the technology, we can fire off a cursor agent that builds the feature and then presents it with a video walkthrough. Oh, do you want it like this? Sure. Now the system's building itself and it's getting it done the right way, because ultimately the human that's using it is the responsible person. And it's just a way to get something done. So it's not, blaming the AI or blaming the person. It should be that synthesis that we talked about earlier.
Great.
Question for you. What do you think about developing metrics around this problem? A problem is only as good as its measurement. So, for example, I'm specifically referring to the architecture deck. If you've got architecture that's gone rogue or it's gone wrong, shouldn't there be any standards built around it such that we could measure it and then go at it for fixing purposes? So, for example, when seatbelts came out in cars, at first nobody wanted to adopt that, right? But then they reinforced the idea by saying, look, this is the percentage of deaths we reduce as a result of wearing it, or here were the numbers of faulty seatbelts, hence we need to fix this system, this mechanism. So as a software engineer, what I'm asking you is, don't you think that the industry is at a point where it should develop metrics around that kind of flawness, such that we can address it head on and not have this grayness associated?
Yeah, I think that there's different metrics that you can apply to it, but what I've noticed is that no matter what, you're gonna get more data coming in. Like, we build tools that update Procore, which is construction enterprise software. We're not sure quite yet how the system is going to start using Procore because it might start using it in ways that haven't been used before because customers just don't know to do it this way or that way. And so, having metrics around simply the fidelity of and quantity of the data that you're getting is going to open up, I think, new doors for more metrics on previous projects that leaders haven't had before because there's been this broken incentive structure of wanting, from a top-down approach. Oh, you need to use this new tool. You need to use this new system. Well, if I'm trying to build a building, okay? I'm not trying to update the system, and I'm spending hours each day updating the system. So there's going to be, a lot of metrics that come into play. But as far as the technical debt and that those metrics, I think that it's not necessarily it shouldn't change the way a software company necessarily releases features and builds out their architecture, but a way to do it faster and more of a democratic way of going about it, where you're not coming in and saying, this is exactly how the software is going to work. We did some interviews with a bunch of your employees. We even, hired a consulting company to get a 355-page report, and we're going to build these features. It's a conversation that's being had.
Yeah, no, I get you, but for example, if I can just take the case of LLMs, because under AI, the mother category, so many different tools. Just look at LLMs. Some of the metrics that you can use right now, which the industry is, a hallucination, confabulations, a sycophancy, right? Exactly. So those are three measurements right there. Hence, when you measure them and you capture them, you can go back and fine-tune the model such that they don't produce such outcomes. That's the kind of thing I was talking about. So what we're doing is looking at a lot of AI architecture management and seeing how we can put metrics through. What's the R numerator, what's our denominator, get the percentage of where you failed, go back, and see architecture. Sometimes sometimes
I think it's a really interesting point. And while I 100% agree with you that that it absolutely makes sense to put metrics around whether the idea of whether using these AI tools is helping us move towards or away from more technical debt. I think it's really interesting, as based on my experience, we really don't have any such metrics. Even leaving aside AI tooling, we have almost no way to tell to a very high degree of certainty whether we are manually adding or removing technical debt. It's a very feelings ball estimate to begin with, and maybe actually a benefit of moving in the direction of automation of writing software is actually allowing us to be better about measuring that. That's something I never thought about before. So I think it's an excellent point.
Great, guys, thank you. This next one is for Rima. What kind of collaborative efforts do you think need to take place to provide more thoughtful outcomes that don't stifle innovation or creativity?
That's a really good question. I think the biggest thing is that we kind of keep blaming technology, that technically we're not collaborating enough with technology. It's actually humans are not collaborating enough with ourselves. We need to collaborate more. We need to collaborate with each other. That's why I feel like this conversation here, I know it's, we've had a couple of things that we're talking about, but I honestly feel like when you're able to kind of put yourself out there and, and be fearless about what you're doing and how you can build more with this technology, I think that's where we're at, and that's where we need to go as a system, as humans, as all of us, right? What actually is AI? If you really look at it, it's all of the data that we've always had all of the human data that we've had put into the machine, right? And it's just growing by the second. They say that one day that we spend is 1 year in AI research. That's how fast it's growing. So we're already feeling like we're late, right? But we're constantly going to feel that because machines are just duplicating. So we now need to not just work and collaborate with each other, we need to collaborate with agents. We need to collaborate with how now leadership is going to be looked at from not just managing teams, but managing different agents and how those agents going to be managed by the managers, right? So I think the ecosystem is completely transformed in terms of how collaboration looks like. And I think that's the joy of it. For someone like me, like I'm a creative, for me, I feel like these tools have, in so many ways sparked my neuroplasticity, because every time I use a new tool, I'm like, oh shit, this is insane. What's going on? It's only getting better. It's only getting more and more powerful. So I feel like it's a time for us to evolve, learn. I stopped listening to music. I only listen to AI podcasts now, like just consistently trying to be as updated as possible. And I still feel I'm outdated, so this is going to be, it's kind of become a part of our lifestyle. We now talk about AI as a lifestyle in the ecosystem. And I think that's the biggest change that has really happened in the last couple of years.
That's
great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just getting into the creative aspect of it. I've been using the AI music tools, and I have always found music to be a very passionate thing in my life. And I was a traditional producer for a while, 5 years ago. And just using the new AI tools to make music, I've already generated over 16,000 versions of songs in that system, and I've been trying to work with other artists to think of it, more of a rapid prototyping, getting your idea as a songwriter out into a version that, yes, it's AI and it's going to sound like AI, but that gives the vision to maybe another artist that, okay, I know I want to play that too. And it's been a little bit challenging because what I've found is that artists are very adverse naturally, I think, to technology, almost to like a kind of reactionary view of it, where it's like, oh, this is digital and fake, and it's not going to make music like a human does. So of course it's not going to be a human, but a human using these tools, you can be, I think, you can grow as an artist.
I think we had a question. We had a question?
Yeah.
I would love you to dig in and kind of unpack a little bit more what you said about artists and that kind of tension with technology. Noting two things that I want to frame that question with. The first is we are all living after the 1980s, the advent of hip hop, the development of a new wave of musical innovation that's predicated on the use of technological tools. And myself,
yes.
in Houston, Chopped and Screwed is
true. Mm-hmm.
But also the question of what is artifice, what is human ingenuity, and what is technology? How is it possible that we agree that certain things are still art, even though they include technology? And what is the tension then that AI is presenting if that can be true?
Well, I think the commoditization of art is what causes people to be very apprehensive to these tools, and because we've turned art into a competitive thing that you build your life on. And if an artist have seen, because these trends have been happening for decades, where an artist gets signed by a label and they essentially get everything, all their artistic value extracted to manufacture these records. And so AI is, I think, to a lot of people, just another step in that direction, where it's just going to be, it's going to take more and more of their value away because it's a commodity. So, where's the line between the artist and
The machine.
yeah, and the message? I don't think there really is one, to be honest with you. But humans have consciousness and they can make decisions, and then they can decide to use the technology to explore it and to create whatever they want to create or not. And so yeah.
Yeah, I could even throw a little in that, and that does get sticky because it's so subjective, right? Creativity and any of those things that are super hard to measure. It's really about what you think is art, right? And some people might have different opinions than others, and so that makes that one pretty difficult, I think, to answer. But we definitely have time to talk about that over some margaritas in just a minute.
That's true.
I've got one more question for Alex. Enterprises say that they're adopting AI, but a lot of them are just piloting tools. And let's give me some hard truth here. Like, what do you think has to change for adoption to become real, and who's usually resisting it?
I love this question. Because I think we really need to look at what adoption means in this day and age. Because when we're thinking about AI adoption, we're not asking people to just adopt new ways of a tool. We're asking people to fundamentally shift the way they're living their lives. We're not going back unless they turn off the data centers and we're going to be living in the dark ages. But I certainly hope that doesn't happen. But we're at the point of no return when it comes to AI. It's integrated into all of our lifestyles. We're adopting it. We're being asked to shift it on a personal level. And the way, we're interacting with our Alexa, if you have one, right? Your grocery list, it's happening in every aspect of your life. So we have to, I think when we think about AI adoption, we have to think it really beyond tool usage, because we're asking people to go outside of their comfort zone. We were sitting on a panel yesterday on neuroscience, right? And the neuroplasticity of it, and what does it take to learn something new? But it's really about safety. And when you feel like something renders you obsolete and you don't feel safe, in trying new things. And the crazy thing is, this is happening at all levels of seniority. This is happening with, your individual contributors. This is happening with middle managers. This is happening with your C-suite. Everyone is feeling this sense of my identity is being renegotiated because of this technology. And I think not enough people are having those conversations. A lot of the conversations are happening about productivity and scalability, and we all know that it's going to happen, but what does AI mean in terms of who we are? And I think when we're thinking about who really needs to push it forward, and when you talk about leadership, we're all leaders in this room because we are here having this dialogue. First of all, I want to start by saying that if you're a teacher, you're a leader. If you're a parent, you're a leader. But if you're a middle manager, if you're as the freaking CEO, you're all leaders. And so because of that, you have this responsibility of creating psychological safety. But I think the people who are resisting it are the people that are feeling that I've done something a really long time the same way. And why should I have to change? And this can be, and oftentimes it's the senior most people that feel that way. It's the people who have spent 20 plus years doing something the same old way that is just not going to work anymore. Maybe before you had to just work really, really hard to get there. But now the skill sets that are being celebrated is, can you pivot fast? Can you learn fast? Can you experiment? How savvy are you? Those are the skill sets that are going to become more relevant in this day and age. So it's really a mixed bag, but we have to think about we are all leaders, and we all have to jump out of the airplane, right? because there's no turning back. And the more we can like push each other and ourselves to experiment and try new things, I think that's what's going to really lead to the empathy required for successful adoption and actual adoption. Does anybody, I think like anybody else on this panel have something to add to this? I feel like. No, nobody else has it. I was hoping I was gonna get some plus ones on
Be
that.
careful with the weapons.
Said it pretty well.
Yes. That has never affected humanity before, as it has with this paradigm shift that we're going through. And that is the ability to unlearn, to relearn. And that is what prevents adoption. If we can teach humanity how to do that, which is an absolute must at this point in time, for us to deploy as a whole universe, then we will succeed. But there is a disparity right now from a socioeconomic perspective, where you've only got people like how much of the population is using AI right now. It's only a fragment of North America and some parts of Europe. The rest of the world is in a blackout phase, right? So the disparity is really growing. And it's one skill that I see that's causing it is not the ability to unlearn what you used to know and relearn what you need to know to work with these tools. Because you can no longer buy a television that's not a smart TV. You can no longer buy a dishwasher or a washing machine that's not smart. So guess what? It's no longer about the option.
It's happening.
It's being forced down your throat. So unlearn what you knew before and relearn how to use that washing machine.
That's
plus one.
That's so cool. That's so true.
I would say, I don't know if anybody here is in the defense, but just be very careful with the way you use the AI when it comes to weapon systems and that kind of technology. I don't know if anybody's in like defense, but that's something that is, you know, some morals when it comes to this stuff is, I think, very important because we're seeing things happen in the world where AI is being used for very terrible things. And so I think, you know, people have to be.
That's a good lead in to kind of how I want to wrap this up. You know, I wanted to kind of wrap this up on some solution oriented vibes, right? Give everybody a chance to share their thoughts. I'm gonna start with you, and you guys can pass it down. But I think what would you say was your best advice to activate, you know, positive outcomes in the coming months or year within what you're doing?
I think some of the things that we can do, some of the things that leaders can do, is to change the narrative. I think it is happening now. Leaders that are encouraging us to adopt AI are realizing that they have a PR problem and that they really cannot get away with just threatening and you know, menacing and just putting this thing down our throats, right? And so they're changing their tune, which I think is actually, it may be a good thing, but it's actually counterproductive for them because they spend so much time saying that this is gonna replace all of us and that if we don't adapt, we're gonna be left behind. And now that they're getting close to an IPO, you know, they're changing their tune. But beyond that, I think changing the narrative and being more, I hate to use this word, but I don't know what other words to use, inclusive, like actually listening to people, listening to their grievances, and understanding that, you know, if you sell this technology as a way to replace people and as a way to, you know, it's gonna widen the inequality gap, the wealth gap, and it's gonna do all these bad things, then you can't just expect people to be like super eager to adopt it. And so I think the adoption, you have to blend in the governance part. And when I say governance, I mean governance, and I don't mean just compliance and like checking the box and classifying data. I mean governance as a whole, like including the conversations that we're having right now, including like, okay, how is this going to affect the, you know, the generation that just graduated college with 50K in debt? Like, how are we gonna address all of these externalities? So having that honest conversation alongside the adoption conversation is how we bring out positive outcomes.
I think that maybe this is possibly a little bit more from the like point of view of maybe an engineer or an individual contributor being asked to use like AI tooling to accelerate their performance or whatever, however you think about it. So it's a little bit more specific than maybe like the whole topic of AI adoption. But I actually think that the problem is not necessarily that. I don't think there's a problem of adoption. I actually think because human nature is like such that it will tend to accept easy answers. And AI tooling will give you easy answers if you're using it. And I think the biggest thing that we need to remember as humans is the people, maybe this is the puppy upper part of the statement. So the people who will, and I think this is related to what you were mentioning, the people who will do the best, the people who will thrive the most through this transition, and if you want to be that person, that you have to do this too, is the people who will not be satisfied with the easy answer they're getting from an AI tool. Whether you're a senior leader asking someone to use a tool to give you an easy answer, or you're the employee, like individual engineer, using the tool and getting the easy answer, you have to resist the temptation to trust that easy answer blindly and demonstrate like a sense of technological curiosity to say, wait a minute, let me ask a hard question. Let me poke into this answer. Let me make sure that if I had been given this answer by a human, what questions would I ask that human, and what would I do to make sure that they weren't telling me some nonsense that I would look like a fool if I just turned around and repeated.
Right.
I think if you can do that, if you can train yourself to do that, if you can think in that way, as a leader, as an individual, as someone in the middle, then you will come out on top of this revolution.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality of the situation is that there is going to be sort of a tsunami effect that's going to happen over the next year or two with job displacement, and it's going to be hard, I think, to recognize to some degree at first, especially with robotics, because a lot of people are talking about humanoid robotics, but the human body is not necessarily the best mechanical structure to get jobs done in a specialization that they might have done before. And so you start to get this kind of undercurrent wave of these replacements happening, and really I think the most important thing is going to be to understand how to use these tools and not be scared of them, because it's going to have an effect, and it's better to be aware of it. They say ignorance is bliss, but when you don't have a job and you can't find any work, it's not necessarily bliss anymore. So it's going to be challenging. It's going to be difficult. And going back to like the thought leaders and everybody in this room, I think it's important to work together, work with people, to talk to people that are going to be affected by the decisions you're making. Talk to construction workers and on the ground, and make sure that if we can't get legislation that's going to stop, all of this job displacement, then to empower the people that we have touch points on with our products to become more irreplaceable in the process, hopefully.
I think the biggest difference between humans and machines, right? So machines follow patterns. It's all about pattern recognition. Humans break the pattern. Like, we're the only ones who can intentionally be like, how do I do this task differently, right? So I think that's the secret sauce, because this is the time to be innovative in how we think and how we process information and how we use the technology. We can build like now we're in a stage where we can build like multiple agents and multiple skills and make, machines work for us. But how do we engineer that ecosystem is where the secret sauce is. So for me, it's about going macro, go high level, and be that designer, be that architect to build those systems which can make a difference. So that would be my take.
I'm gonna be a little bit repetitive here, but I think it's really thinking about like, who is your audience? Who is the end user? I work with a lot of product managers or like people in traditional change management, and they just like roll out these playbooks and we're just like, we're gonna do an onboarding, we're gonna send some emails, but like, it doesn't matter who you are, even if you're just building agents, if you're the one building the systems, if you're the one leading the teams, you have to think about like, who is that person? Who's the end user, right? Like we have this responsibility of thinking about, like, if I want this person to do X task, to work towards Y goal, like what is their incentive? Like what is the emotion? We can't just think about like, oh, I'm gonna give them a set of instructions and then they're gonna go and do these things. But we have to think really about like, what are the layers of emotion that they're experiencing? Fear or incompetency, or maybe it's even excitement. It doesn't all have to be negative, but when we're building systems and tools and frameworks and agents, all of these things, like you genuinely have to think about your audience. You have to think about like, how are you impacting that individual? Or, you know, I like Rima, what Rima's saying is like, we're building agents that are going to be managing other agents. Like, well, how is the agent thinking about how is going to be managing these other agents? So it's this whole like chain reaction of things. And I think we have to really create this, you know, human-centered design or behavioral-centered design and really understand like what is it that we're trying to do? What's the transformation that we're trying to get the individual to go through, and how do we actually create behavioral change in a way that's realistic and not just long-term and not just like metric satisfaction. Like, oh, we increased productivity or we increased engagement or Copilot usage is up by 75%. Like, what does it actually mean for the individual, and how are we seeing those behavioral changes?
That is great, guys. Thank you all for your insights, and congratulate yourselves for making it through our first panel.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for sticking around. And I'm gonna put this thing down now, but
Please help yourself to some Ola Soul margaritas. They're local, and they're one of our sponsors.
Jeff,
and
if you throw that, it automatically.
It does it. Yeah. But no, thank you guys. We appreciate it, and let's have some fun. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Let's get it.
All right, Chad. I'm turning it off, Chad.
Yes. Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Take this off.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Big smile. That's vertical.
There's a lot of stuff there.
Sorry. Okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Last one.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Patrick, can we
Chad.
get some music up in here?
Yeah, get
Yeah.
some music.
That's right.
Hey, Nate. Thanks for sticking through. I hope you enjoyed it.